Hey everyone, welcome back to the new episode of the Dreamers podcast. Today I have a special guest, by KXNG. If you want to kind of go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience.
Hi guys, I'm a collage artist and animator from London, UK. Nice to meet you guys.
Okay, sweet. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to come on.
Of course, yeah, anytime, man.
So I guess kind of just to start off how I usually start off, a lot of the interviews is just how did you start developing your artistic skills? Like, did you draw a lot as a kid? How did you get from or get to where you are now with your art?
Well, back in the day, I used to make like YouTube videos, and I wanted to get into like making like thumbnails, and like
Hmm.
I would search up like YouTube tutorials on how to like make thumbnails, and there's this one program, obviously Photoshop, that everyone
Hmm.
kept like using in their like tutorials, and I was like, oh, let me download this. Obviously, at that time, I was a little kid. I was like 14, like 13, 14. So, I pirated it, cracked it, whatever, and I'm pretty sure like that's what everyone done back in the day.
Uh,
So I like started using it around that time, and I just, I initially downloaded it using it for like, thumbnails and stuff, but I just like love using Photoshop, and I just started using it like every other day, just making like random things like YouTube banners, like just getting into like graphic design at initially at that stage. And I'd done that for like a few years. I would just like mess around on it, like just make a few things,
mhm,
and and when I got to like 2020, obviously the pandemic started,
mhm,
and I haven't at that time I didn't use like Photoshop that often, and I, obviously we're stuck inside, so I'm trying to just try and do something for fun,
mhm,
and I was like, oh, let me just open up Photoshop to see what I could do, and I had an art account that time where I kind of just like it was an art account, it was like a graphic design page. It was
mhm,
this my current account right now, and I would just post like logos, etc. What I made, whatever. But I was always into like art and stuff, but I like never study in like school. So like, I was like, oh, let me try and make something. And I used to follow like this guy on Instagram, and I still do. His name is the Shane Ramos. He used to make like these. He makes these collages actually,
mhm,
and it just inspired me at that time. And I was like, oh, I want to make like something like this. Like, I was this is on Photoshop, and I was like, why not? Let me just like try something new. Because I was mainly just doing graphic design. Like I never really done anything like a collage or anything like that.
mhm.
So, I just started making like collages, and I was like, yo, I'm getting pretty good at this. And like a few months in, I'm getting like all these like people like following me, and this is a few months in, I'm just doing it for fun.
Mhm.
And like, that's really how it started, like my artistic journey. Like, it was through like graphic design early on, and like
Mhm.
during the pandemic, I got like inspired by this one artist, Shane Ramos, that inspired me to just, I don't know, create something for fun.
Mhm.
And like I just really fell in love with like just collages, and then like, even after that I started doing my own research, like looking at other collage artists and just like, in the space, etc.
But yeah, I mean that's sweet to kind of hear that, it did kind of start with graphic design and
Yeah.
it's just kind of evolved. And especially that's kind of a common theme with a lot of people, maybe did art for fun or a little bit on the side, but then during 2020, like you said, they just, wanted something to do, kill some time. And so that's how, I mean, several people that I've interviewed in the past. So I mean, not surprised at all that that's when you kind of really took it serious. I also wanted to ask about how being from the UK and how that has affected your, I mean, your art, your influences, and how that affects you.
Well, I if you look at my art, I mainly make music around. I mainly make art around like American artists, like hip hop and like the UK
Mm-hmm.
culture. Like I like UK music, but it's like never been really the music that I, you know, listen to on a daily basis. Like I've always
Mm-hmm.
been into like, that American, just like American, music like rap, hip hop, etc. Like I grew up listening to like
Mm-hmm.
Eminem, like Jay-Z,
Mm-hmm.
a few other rappers, like Kanye as well. Like early on, I was like a little kid, and like I would just hear that on like the TV, and I was like, yo, this sounds like
Mm-hmm.
fire. And I started to grow older, like I started to look into these like artists, and like I was kind of like I was always around that. Like I was even like I was so like how do I say, like so many people around me in like high school, they would be listening to like just like local artists, like UK artists. So like I never really fit in
Mm-hmm.
at school because like no one really listened to like American artists, especially at that time. This was like 2014, 15, 16. I was in high school and like in the UK, like no one was really obviously listening to it unless it was like super mainstream. Like back in the day, like Fet You Up, he was like popping off. People knew obviously know that
Mm-hmm.
guy, but like no one really knew like J Cole or Kendrick. Like I was listening to those guys in like
Oh.
high school, Logic as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I've always just been inspired by like that culture, like just hip hop. It never really like I've never really been like obviously I said like just been inspired by like the UK culture. Like I've always been into that
Mm-hmm.
just like American hip hop culture. Like because I obviously grew up around like my brothers would listen to that music, and you know that was always like the music I listened to. Like, and nothing really like inspired me like from the UK really. I always felt like I was out of
Mm-hmm.
like a fish out of water. I don't know if that's the right
Mm-hmm.
term in like school, and like yeah, that's really it.
So yeah, yeah. I mean, that's one of the things I was going to touch on is that a lot of your art is featured around, like you said, hip hop, and I mean a few other artists and stuff. But I mean, you have recent pieces for like Kid Cudi, Kendrick,
Yes.
Travis, Kanye. A lot of those American artists. So it's kind of interesting to hear you say that. People like while Jay Z and J Cole are like big name international artists, they're not
Hmm.
like necessarily as common, and some of the smaller artists as
Yeah.
well, while they're huge here, they might not
Yeah.
be as common of listened to as you would
Hmm.
think in other countries like the UK. So it was kind of interesting to hear that you were, like you said, a fish out of water.
Yeah, it was like yeah, it just felt like a weird experience. Now like they're way bigger. Like Kendrick, J Cole. Like now
Mm-hmm.
everyone knows them. But like
Mm-hmm.
2014, 15, 16, like that's when like I feel like
Mm-hmm.
they were still kind of picking up over here at least in the UK.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, yeah, that's when they were. I mean, big here, but not like international. As so, I mean, that
Yeah,
makes sense. So yeah,
sure.
but I mean, I also wanted to ask. I mean, you've talked about some of those bigger artists and stuff, but are there like what have you been listening to recently? Is there any like underrated album from last year that you think anyone should listen to, or some smaller artists that you think everyone should check out?
Well, to be honest, like I do listen to a lot of music, but like I kind of just stick to my like forte. Like I know there's like a lot of like talented like underrated artists. I know there's this guy called like Red Valley. I don't know if I'm like pronouncing his name right,
Mm-hmm.
but he's like a very good artist. He has like some like really solid projects he's put out. I really like him. I would say like he's definitely an underrated artist, and I think he's still coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And like who else? Like to be honest, like my playlist is just full of like just a lot of music. So
Mm-hmm.
like it's kind of like all over the place. But like I definitely recommend that. And like underrated album, I'm not sure honestly. There was not that many projects that like really caught my ear last year that much.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I would say, oh, that's a sticky one. I'll probably like what's that? The Billy Woods album that came out last year. That
Oh
was a
yeah,
really
yeah, yeah.
I forgot his name. I listened to like a few times, but like it didn't really stick in my head. But like I really like fuck with that album. But yeah, I think that's like an underrated album from last year because I don't. That's not like a mainstream rap album.
Mm-hmm.
Like Utopia or one of the other 100 albums that came out last year, like For the Dogs
Mm-hmm.
or who else dropped? I don't even remember at this point. Utopia, For the Dogs. I forgot who else to be honest. Like mainstream albums dropped, but yeah, that's not moved that mainstream guy.
So yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about the Billy Woods album. I've listened to him a little bit, but I don't think I've heard like a full project. So I mean, that's one that
Hmm.
definitely, while he is a known artist and stuff, he's definitely someone that is still probably underrated and someone that I know I need to listen to more.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but I mean, yeah, that's. I
He's,
mean, I know it's kind of a hard question. Like that would be hard for me to answer too. Like I kind of listen to
yeah,
everything. Like, and
yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
for
Like,
sure.
while it's not my favorite album of last year, I've been listening to a lot of for the dogs only. Like, there's a lot of popular
Yeah, some fun tracks.
songs on
Yeah, some
that.
good
Like,
songs. And
there's a lot of replayability. So.
I was gonna say like first person shooter mode. That's probably my song of the year last year. I just love that song because J Cole
Yeah.
and Drake, like those are like two of my favorite rappers. Like I think J
Mm-hmm.
Cole is like one of the greatest. Obviously Drake as well. So like that energy, that song is just, I don't know. It's just got something about it. It's just, every time it comes on, especially with the
Mm-hmm.
music video that just came out like a few weeks ago. It's like last month. It just
Mm-hmm.
made the song even better. So yeah, like for the dogs, can't go wrong. It's Drake.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Can't go
There's
wrong. He makes good music.
yeah, there's some songs I don't really replay, and it's not like the best album
Yeah,
of last year, but like
yeah,
yeah,
definitely not.
first person shooter, the Yeet song and the
Yeah,
one with
I don't give a.
SZA and Sexy Red. That's like my song of the year. I love that song. That song's so fun.
Yeah, yeah, Rich Baby Daddy. Yeah, yeah, that one's
Yeah,
quite
yeah,
fun. I've been just seeing that everywhere recently. I
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
yeah,
I
that's
love
a
that
crazy
one.
song. Yeah, sure.
So one of the artists that I know that was featured on your page, and I mean you mentioned him earlier, is one of my favorite artists, and while he's popular and I mean, has had huge hits.
Hmm.
He's one that I don't see as many people talk about. Um,
Of course.
but Logic, I've always been like a big Logic
Logic.
fan. Logic was kind of
Yeah.
how I got into
Hmm.
hip hop really back in like
Mm,
2016 with the
yeah.
Incredible True Story.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of wanted to throw out some love to Logic.
Yeah.
I love
Logic.
Logic
Yeah,
so
he's
much.
Logic's always been like one of my favorite like rappers. Like I grew up listening to him like while playing like Call of Duty back in the day. Like I remember he used to have like music and like Phase Clan montages. And
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know what song it was, but it was like Ballin'. I think it was in like one
Mm-hmm.
montage,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, "Yo, this guy's music's fire." This was like 2013, 14 ish,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, "Yo, this guy's fire." So I started listening to him more, and like I think it was like a few weeks later, he dropped Under Pressure, and I listened to that album literally throughout high school. That album was just incredible, and obviously he had the incredible True Story and and other projects too. But like those two albums from Logic. Oh, like yeah, like those are like some of my favorite albums of all time. Like, like definitely Under Pressure. That album has just got like hits. Soul Food, Under Pressure, Gang Related, Buried Alive. Now,
Mm-hmm.
Driving Miss Daisy. I can go on and on about that album. It's just
Mm-hmm.
this is a really good project. I think that's like
Mm-hmm.
Logic. Definitely at his peak. He's definitely made great music
Mm-hmm.
since then. But like I feel like that's when he was like really, coming, hungry, just like coming for that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Under Pressure and The Incredible True Story are both
Hmm.
like
Yeah,
they were. I would definitely assume my most played like
yeah,
albums and
definitely same.
songs during high school. And I mean, I still always like I love
Yeah,
Logic. Check out his stuff. So it's just really cool because I mean, while he is a
yeah,
big artist, I feel like he's not as talked about by as many people as like Kendrick or J Cole and Travis. When
yeah, definitely. He gets a lot of unnecessary hate, I'd say. Nowadays.
I mean, for me, he's one of my favorite artists. So I just kind of wanted to shout out Logic because I saw that.
Of course,
But I also wanted to talk about while a lot of your recent art and past art has been focused on hip hop, and we've talked
of
about
course,
that a little bit. You've also done several pieces based on movies like Akira and The Dark Knight. I wanted to kind of talk about maybe how film has affected your work and maybe some of your favorite or unrated films as well.
of course. Film like I've always just been inspired by like, watch just movies. Like I remember like early on just watching like, like growing up, I used to watch like just a lot of like comedy films like Rush Hour, like even like
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars and stuff like that. And during those times, those were like the best days, just watching those movies because those are like just pure, just entertainment. You know what I mean? Like Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
like what you call it, Rush Hour, whatever, like Beverly Hills
Mm-hmm.
Cop, like just like all those movies, like Space Jam. That's like another one I grew up watching.
Mm-hmm.
And like as I start to get older, I start to just like watch more movies. And I got into like more, like I tried to I try to like widen my scope of like films because I would stick to like the main blockbuster movies and not really pay attention to like those indie house movies that are coming out or like a movie from like Martin Scorsese or another director like Wes Anderson. So as I
Mm-hmm.
got older, when I was like 16 or 17, I started to like like go watch those movies like Goodfellas, Casino,
Mm-hmm.
Wolf of Wall Street, Taxi Driver, A Raging Bull, and just something about those movies, like just something about like Martin Scorsese's just way of making movies, just really inspired me. And like he's I think he's my favorite director, to be honest. Like his films are like
Hmm.
just inspire me like on a whole different level. And like you can see on my page, like I've started to do like animations, and like on After Effects there's this mode where you can use a 3D camera. It's like a little bit like
Hmm.
directing, and I've not really pushed it to the limits yet, but like it's like a bit like directing, and I'm like, I'm probably gonna like do something with that, like make like a 3D directing video on some way, like on After Effects, because
Hmm.
I love movies. Like I literally try and watch one like at least every week, you know.
That's interesting to kind of hear, how that's influenced you, and especially with that like 3D camera in After Effects, and how you've also, I mean, we've talked about collages, but you also do like animations with your collages, and
Yeah,
so I
yeah,
was always curious how you did those. So it's cool to see that it was
yes. Oh,
to hear
After
that it was
Effects.
like After Effects.
Yeah,
Um, Say, I mean, I'm also, I don't know, I'm definitely not like a film guy. Like, there's a million classics and essentials that I haven't
yeah.
watched.
Hmm.
And like Martin Scorsese, uh, I know I've fully seen The Wolf of Wall Street, and I'd only watched
Obviously,
it
yeah.
for the first time
Hmm.
a couple years ago.
Yeah,
Uh, and I know it's kind of like, I don't know, some people call it like a red flag movie, like a guys movie, but I really enjoyed it. I mean, like how, I don't know, it makes you feel anxious. It makes
yeah.
you like, like you're fully like
Invested.
enveloped and engaged with the world, yeah,
Yeah,
invested.
yeah, for sure.
And so, I mean, I definitely need to check out stuff like Goodfellas and I mean, Killers of the Flower Moon, some of the
Yeah,
newer
no,
stuff. Yeah, yeah.
that's another great movie that he released obviously this year. Yeah, he's just like, I don't know, just something about his movies, and like obviously a few other directors who, like obviously Spielberg. He's got like
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of classics, like Jaws, E.T.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like Jurassic Park. He's just like one of those like directors. There's a few others like Ridley Scott. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
there's like a recent director like Christopher Nolan. He's like probably my favorite current director. And Denis Villeneuve. He's uh he's probably one of the best too right now. He's the Dune 2's coming out this year too, which I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking really forward to as well. And one movie that I watched a while back. This was like 2 years ago. That really like just like inspired me so much. It was just like on another level. It was Whiplash. I remember
Oh,
just
uh-huh.
seeing that movie. I remember seeing that movie like a few years ago, and I was like, "Yo, this movie is like so insane." And like J.K. Simmons' performance, he's so like terrifying in that. It's like so like he's like villainous, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, "Yo, this guy is crazy." Because I've always like another movie I forgot to add on. Like I forgot to add on was like I grew up watching like the Spider-Man movies, the Sam Raimi ones, and he was
Mm-hmm.
always like J.K. Obviously, he was J. Jonah Jameson in them. So like I
Mm-hmm.
saw like a little meanie side. So he wasn't like really super serious in those. He was kind of like comedic in those
Mm-hmm.
movies. So like seeing that movie, I was like, yo, this guy is like evil. I was like, yo, what? And that movie's always like just stood out to me. And like I don't know, it's just something about that movie, it's the performances, and I don't know the story. It's so like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just like interesting. I don't know.
So yeah, Whiplash. I've seen like clips and stuff, and I mean, yeah, they from everything I've seen, both J.K. Simmons and Miles Teller yeah,
Hmm.
did like play that very well, and I definitely want to watch that. I know one of my friends
Incredible
has
movie.
recommended me the movie. I think maybe several times, and it's definitely one I
Yeah, you
need to
got to
check
tap in,
out.
man. Yeah, for sure, you
Um,
got to tap in.
and then I mean, you talked about Spider Man, and one of the things I was
Yeah.
wanted to talk to you about next was probably my favorite piece that I've seen you do
Yeah.
is your like animated Spider Verse collage you did a few months ago. I just wanted to ask and if you could kind of talk about the creation process and like how long something like that
Yeah.
took you to do.
Yeah, sure. Of course, yeah. That Spider-Verse project, that was like super like fun to make. Like I remember watching the movie in theaters last year when the day it came out, and I'm like, wow, this movie is like insane. Like it's probably
Mm-hmm.
my favorite movie from last year, because as an artist, you watch that movie and you're like, wow, the colors, the art, etc. it's just like super inspiring. Like, oh, no, he has a great story as well. A lot of people didn't like the ending, but I thought it was like a very fitting ending, and it just
Hmm.
makes you leaving for more. I can't wait for the second part.
Hmm.
But like after seeing that movie, I literally had this one idea of like making this like 3D collage using like After Effects, because on After Effects you can obviously, I already touched on this. You can like use a 3D camera,
Hmm.
and you can basically make things like a 3D environment. So like, but I was gonna say, I was gonna make a collage, but for it straight after the movie came out, but
Hmm.
I couldn't because the movie wasn't out on digital,
Yeah.
and I needed like very like high quality like clips from the movie and like just assets.
Hmm.
So like I couldn't make it for months, but I had that idea like just locked in. I already envisioned it.
Uh-huh.
Like I was like, yo, when this movie comes out on digital, I'm gonna literally start making it. So as soon as it came out on digital, like I bought the movie, and basically I used this like program which like cuts the movie in like frames,
Hmm.
something like that. And I also just brought it into like Premiere Pro. I like took out like some of my favorite clips, because I wanted to like have like the most high resolution clips possible for the collage.
Hmm.
And I also looked on online for like concept art from like the artists that worked on the movie,
Hmm.
and like I just brought that all into like After Effects, and I just started like just assembling it together, and like it all came together really well. And I felt like with that piece, I was trying to like make like the movie in kind of like I was trying to make it look like make it feel like you were inside like the Spider Verse. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? That was like my goal of it. Like you watch that obviously piece, like that animation, you're going through like parts of the movie, like you see the scenes. You also obviously seen the bridge in the movie where
Hmm.
obviously the multiple Spider-Man are there. So like you kind of just get like a glimpse into the movie, and I wanted to like create that like feeling just by watching the animation. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like a little advert for the movie, I guess. Not advert, but like just like a collage that makes you feel like when you're watching it, like, oh, this is Spider Verse. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And that was my goal of it, and it was so fun to make. And it took like I think like a few days to make.
Hmm.
Not a few days, but like it took like I'd say like to assemble the clips that took me like 2 3 days, and after that, just bringing that all into After Effects, that took me like 4 or 5 days,
Dang.
and I think it was all wrapped up in like 7 days. Because I had the idea for so long, so I
Hmm.
was literally like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this, do that, that, that. Like I had it planned out. Literally, I had like
Uh-huh.
the compositions on like what images should be like front and center, etc. So like the piece was already like mapped out in my head for like months. Because
Hmm.
the obviously when the movie releases, it doesn't come out on digital until like 2 3 months.
Hmm.
So like I was waiting. I was literally like I was telling my friends since I saw that movie, I was like, yo, I want to make this piece, but I can't. It's just like, oh, it was so annoying. I was like, that's like and when I made it, I was like, yo, this is so amazing. Like, I feel like, I've done the movie justice, and,
Hmm.
you know, and I was incredibly honored. Like, someone that worked on the movie, he was like head of story.
Oh,
So
dang.
he was like a head of like all the like storyboarding, etc. for the movie. So
Hmm.
like someone very high, like worked for the movie. He actually saw it and he reposted it, which was like
Oh, wow.
so incredible. Yeah, because like he probably gets sent like a ton of work, so that was like wow, really cool moment for me.
Hmm.
Because I definitely spent like not like a lot of time on it, but like I spent a lot of time thinking on that piece. So it felt like nice to get like that, you know, just recognition from the guys who actually done the work on
Hmm.
the movie. You know what I mean? So it was really nice.
So yeah, I mean, for for anyone that hasn't seen it, I'll put it up if you're watching the or listening to this on YouTube. I'll put it up so you can kind of see what the little animation is. But yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, everything you said, it's amazing, like how it use a 3D
Hmm.
camera and kind of zoom into the image, and you just see all these different little clips, and how you
Yeah,
said like make it feel like you're in the Spider Verse with like the webbing that kind of like cuts it off, and there's different Spider-Men on it,
yeah,
and then seeing Miles, and I mean, yeah, that's
Gwen. Yeah,
yeah, Miles and Gwen and everybody, and I mean, I'm sure everybody knows that Spider Verse, both the movies are amazing, so no need to
yeah,
tell everyone that. But if you haven't watched
yeah. You
them,
don't need to tell you.
go watch them, please. They're
Yeah, definitely do.
beautiful. I mean, even just from even if you don't like superheroes, just from like an art standpoint, like
Yeah,
it's
definitely for more
like
art.
the pinnacle of
Yeah,
animation
definitely
in a
pinnacle.
sense. But
Yeah, definitely the pinnacle. Yeah, definitely.
um, when I was kind of doing some research on some of your past work and things you've done, one of the things that I didn't realize you had done is you've worked with on projects with some large creators, like such as
Yeah.
like Mr. Beast and the Sidemen. And I was curious if you can kind of talk
Hmm.
about what it was like doing stuff for them, because it's not just an artist and you're doing like a cover art and it's like you're just dealing with them,
Yeah.
but you're, I'm assuming, dealing with like a team of people, because those are both
Yeah. Of
huge
course.
YouTubers. So just curious what that
Yeah.
process was like.
Definitely. Yeah. I worked with the Sidemen in 2021, I think.
Hmm.
Someone like very close to them who works for them, has been like following me since I like started doing art. So that was like really cool and like
Hmm.
just I always knew he like followed me and like obviously I spoke to him about like I'll be working with them
Hmm.
like with the Sidemen. Just like one day he just sent me an email and he was like, "Oh, are you available to have a meeting?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm available." And he just like ran me down like what they want me to make for them, and I was just super excited. It was like this obviously this advertisement collage for like their collections.
Hmm.
It was for like Sidemen X Elise and Sidemen X Mr. Men, and yeah, like it was super fun to make, because I'm working with like these guys like Sidemen. I grew up watching those guys as well, like throughout high school,
Hmm.
and like who would have thought like me? I didn't think I would be able to work with a brand like that or just like a group of people like that.
Hmm.
I got to like just work with them, like, and that was such a like surreal like feeling, and I was like, yo, at that point I was like, yo, I can actually do this like full time. Like this is like the biggest, I think it's the biggest YouTube creators on in the UK at least. And I was like super, because they don't just have
Hmm.
one creator. It's like KSI, Toby Jizzle, Mini Minter,
Hmm.
Big Star, Bazinga, Zerka. Like they had all those like guys, and like those guys are huge. So it was like I was like, yo, this is insane. Like I literally, it was such a fun, uh, sorry, project to like work
Hmm.
on. Like, he just sent me like a bunch of like the person I was working with. His name is Matt. He's a he's a creative. I think he's creative director of like Simon Clothing, and like he just like he's super nice to like work with. It was just a super fun project, working with the Sidemen.
Hmm.
But like yeah, Mr. Beast, that was a project that my friend was doing. His name is Rakatech. He's another artist. Go check out his work.
Hmm.
He's incredible. But he just like called me one day and he was like, "Oh, I'm doing this like commission for like Mr. Beast, and like basically he wanted me to help out." And Mr. Beast's assistant or Mr. Beast him actually asked him to make like these like gifts for like other YouTubers, like Christmas gifts, I think.
Hmm.
And obviously it was like five different YouTubers, and obviously Rakatech, he put me on, he brought me in because obviously I told him I love Mr. Beast, and he just brought me onto that
Hmm.
project, and that was like super fun to like like work on too. Like I got to like help him make like the compositions and like give like the art direction on that project. It was like it was super fun, and especially like working doing something like Mr. Beast. That was like incredible because that guy is like he's the biggest YouTuber. Like he's huge. You know what I mean? Like
Uh-huh.
that's like, I've worked with the biggest YouTubers in the UK, and I've also worked with the biggest YouTuber, you know, on the planet. That guy's like, he's
Hmm.
just it's super fun, honestly. We had like tight deadline, but we made it through. Yeah, it was a super fun project. Working for Mr. Beast, and it was obviously with my friend Rakatech. It was a great project. It was a great
Hmm.
project.
So yeah, shout out Rocket Tech. I haven't spoken with him before, but I've followed him for, I don't know, probably a year or so now, and he also does
Yeah,
some killer stuff.
yeah, he's incredible. Yeah,
So, but it's kind of cool to see how you talked about originally starting graphic design because you wanted to do like thumbnails and kind of getting into
yeah,
that, which is an incredibly like YouTube centered
yeah.
thing.
GFX. Yeah,
And so while you didn't, yeah, and so while you didn't like make thumbnails for these big artists, you were able to uh, collab with the biggest like YouTube group in the
yeah,
UK, the biggest YouTuber in the world.
yeah. That
So it's cool to see how
played out.
that,
Yeah, definitely. Like I didn't.
yeah, how it kind of evolved.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like growing up, like when I was in high school, I wanted to be like a YouTuber,
Hmm.
but like I didn't obviously end up doing that. But like I feel like like me working with these big YouTubers, kind of just like, I don't know, it's just super cool, honestly. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It was a nice like nod to my like childhood. Go watching those guys. Still watch Mr.
Hmm.
Beast and
So,
obviously Sidemen. But yeah.
I also saw that you've done work with other like creatives and like
Hmm.
different brands and stuff. Do you
Yeah.
have any, dream collab, whether it be a creator, an artist, or a company or something that you'd want to work with in the future?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say like a dream brand that I would want to work with is definitely like Nike or Jordan. Like
Hmm.
I love obviously Jordan, Air Jordan, Michael Jordan's obviously brand, you
Hmm.
know, and obviously Nike is obviously Nike. Everyone knows Nike. I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah.
that would be such a like great project, like great client to like work with. I feel like I would make you'd make something like really really special, and I feel like it's gonna happen sooner or later. I feel like those type of clients come around. Because like I never thought I'd be working with Mr.Beast or even the Sidemen. You know, and I've got like
Hmm.
this is one brand also. This is one company that I want to work with, and I never thought I'd be working with them, and they discovered me through IG. I can't really speak on it, but like, yeah, I've got something with them coming soon. Not soon, but like, yeah, I'll just say that it's gonna be super fun. Just say that.
Say sweet. I'll definitely be tuning in, and I'm excited to see what that brand is.
Hmm.
And it was cool to hear you say like Jordan and stuff because I know you've done at least that I've seen like one or two cool like collages. One with the Jordan sneakers, and then one
Yeah.
with the Jordan logo, but it's made up of like different pictures and moments and stuff
Hmm.
of Jordan. And I mean, I could
Yeah.
so easily see that being on a T-shirt. So
Yeah.
I definitely agree with you that it's just a matter of time. Like
Yeah.
like that'll definitely happen, and so I'm excited to
Definitely.
see that when it does. Um,
Appreciate you, man.
Say, and then I also wanted to talk about you currently offer different like posters and prints and
Hmm.
T-shirts that feature a lot of your work. But I
Yeah.
just wanted to know: are you curious of expanding into different type of products or anything that you want to do in the future?
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. I'm gonna probably delve into more clothing stuff. Like I've got a collaboration with this clothing company at this moment. That's probably gonna come out in like a few months. It's called
Hmm.
Episode. There's this brand called Episodes Clothing. Check them out. Like I'm working on a collab with them, and I'm excited to release that. But like, yeah, I'll say clothing's definitely one of the things that I wanna like pursue on, and like another things, just like I don't know, just making. I don't know, just like I'm not sure yet, but like I've got a vision. I just want to make like cool things. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like just incorporating my work into it. You know what I mean? Like collage, like incorporating my collage into like clothing and stuff. Like I feel like I could make something pretty interesting. Like I've always had like that thought in my head that I could like make something with that, and I think I will be coming out with something in the next few months. So yeah, stay tuned for that.
So sweet. I mean, also excited to see that.
Appreciate
But
you.
one of the things that I know you've been kind of posting a lot about, and I'm not sure if you want to talk about it, but you've talked about how you've had issues with other brands and some of these like
Yeah,
TikTok kind of drop shippers type of things stealing your
yeah,
designs. And I was curious
yeah.
if you wanted to talk about like how that's affected you and how you've kind of gone about trying to take some
Hmm.
of that stuff down.
Yeah, that stuff is obviously super annoying. I feel like it happens to obviously all artists that create on the internet, so it's kind of like what's it, inevitable. But
Hmm.
like, it's definitely super annoying, and like it definitely gets like under my skin because like you know, like why are these guys just straight up using it and like without like asking me or anything, like crediting me, and like some of the
Hmm.
videos I see of like people stealing my work gets like a million views, and I'm like, yo, that's like a huge thing for our artists,
Hmm.
and like they're probably making like so much money from our work, like thousands of thousands. You know what I mean? And it
Hmm.
just rubs me the wrong way. And like some of these brands that obviously steal my work, they steal other people's work, and it's just like it's pretty frustrating to see though because the artists a lot of artists they don't really get respected. These people that obviously steal our work, they'll probably just come across something on like Pinterest and be like, oh, I found it on Pinterest. Oh, there was no
Hmm.
credit or something like that. And there's this kind of like every person who's like ever stole my work or something like that. they always have the same excuse. They're like, "Oh, we found it on this website. Oh, we found it on Pinterest. There was no credit." And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean you can't use it, man. Like,
Yeah.
just make your own designs. But like those type of brands, they're here today, they're gone tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
They're here, they're making a quick buck. Even though it hurts, but I guess it's gonna keep happening to me. You know, and I guess I gotta keep dealing with it. Like a lot of the brands that have stolen from me, I reach out to them directly and ask them, and usually 9 times out of 10, I get it resolved through them. And if they don't, obviously sometimes I have to like put it on my story, which I hate doing because I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to bring like negative publicity on my page, whatever. But if they're stealing my work,
Uh,
that's what happens. You know what I mean? I gotta do what I gotta do. Protect my work because straight up stealing it, like, and just
mm-hmm.
making it look like you designed it. It's pretty frustrating, especially when that work's getting like a million views and you're not getting anything for that.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty frustrating.
So yeah, I've seen some of the different posts you've made, and yeah, gone to
Hmm.
check out some of those accounts, and I mean, yeah, you can tell
Hmm.
like they just rip images from online, and
Yeah.
obviously it's no excuse to, oh, there was no credit, so it can't, like, you're selling a
Yeah.
product. That's not how that works.
Yeah.
And so yeah,
Literally.
like you said, these companies are, here today, gone tomorrow. Like, I
Yep.
think one of them
Hmm.
like just sold like Kanye merch stuff, and they
Yeah.
used your design. And I think I saw, if you know
Yeah.
the artist Reno,
Reno.
he,
Yeah. He's a,
yeah,
he's a nice guy.
yeah, Reno's awesome. Shout out Reno. I've talked about him a few times before, but
Yeah.
I think he also made a post, and I didn't double check, but I think it was like the same account that sold Kanye stuff also stole like one of his old designs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's the
like,
same brand. Yeah.
yeah, so it's crazy that these people just have no empathy, and
Morals.
they just
Yeah.
they don't care. And I mean, obviously those hoodies or sweaters or whatever are like the lowest quality and super
Yeah.
overpriced for
Exactly.
what you get.
It's probably
So
like Gildan. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 So I mean, at least, I mean, it's nice that, like you said, you've been able to at least get them to take it down,
Yeah.
with
Stop selling. Yeah.
once you've reached out to them. But obviously they've already sold to that point, so um,
Yeah. That certain brand, they stole from me before, which was
mhm,
so funny because like I thought they understood like the first time.
mhm.
So like I was super annoyed the second time they stole. I was like, "Yo, what is wrong with these guys?" Like, cause I sent them an email last time when they stole it, and they were super nice about it. They're like, "Oh, we get it, your still work, etc. Sorry about
Mhm.
that." And I thought that was it. They're not gonna like steal my work again. The next thing I know, my friend sends me a TikTok. It has like 500,000 views, and I'm like,
Dang.
it's the same company, and I'm like, oh, it's rubbed me the wrong way.
Uh-huh.
What I mean? It's just yeah, super disheartening. But I guess this is obviously what big artists feel as well. It's
Mhm.
obviously it's gonna happen more and more, and it's gonna be super frustrating for me. But I guess I got to keep navigating through that.
So I mean, with that being said, definitely everybody, it'll be down in the description below. But go check out his store with all the different collages and
Appreciate
posters
you,
and
man.
shirts and everything.
Mm,
Buy
Appreciate you.
from the artist himself, and support
Appreciate
someone. So just wanted to let everyone
you.
know
Yeah, for
that
sure.
that is down there. Not an ad, but
Appreciate.
of course, go check it out. This is not
Thank you.
sponsored, but um,
Should be soon.
so to kind of switch topics a little bit and kind of ask you some more just general questions. Um,
Of
you
course.
know, with creating the collages and trying to source all these different images and stuff. I'm curious. Do you ever have like creative blocks, times when you're just not really feeling it? And if so, how do you kind of overcome those?
Yeah, with I have creative blocks all the time. Like, it's like I feel like it's inevitable for like artists to have that. So
Mm-hmm.
like whenever I feel like I'm like not 100% in the piece I'm creating, I just step away for like a day or like a few days and like come back to it with like fresh mind. You know what I mean? 'Cause, you never want to like work on something when you don't really feel it or you're like 100% in it.
Mm-hmm.
So like I just like take time for myself and like just relax, do really nothing. Watch like I don't know, do something else when like when I don't feel like it. I go out for walks. like plan some other stuff out. Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe like obviously the clothing stuff I'm trying to do, and yeah, like some of the stuff like I'll have meetings, so like I'll just have like I'll go through those rather than work on like some personal art. But I
Mm-hmm.
really just take time for myself rather than like you know keep moving 100% forward. You can't really, yeah, like you don't want to make that problem even bigger. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
because some creators I know they'll get, they'll be burnt out, but they'll keep like creating because they can't stop. They want to like,
Mm-hmm.
be catered to the algorithm, etc. They'll make stuff like they don't like, and I don't want to be like that. Because I want to make art that I enjoy and that I 100% love, and I'm like confident about.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think
Sure.
that's a big part of it, and I mean, talked about it with pretty much everyone I've ever had on the show. But that
Hmm.
the trying to find that balance between creating art and doing stuff that you enjoy, but whether you want to have a million followers or not, this still, like, the likes and the views and stuff still affects you.
Yeah.
So there is that kind of draw to, oh well, I don't want to work on a collage today, but my last post did really good, so
Yeah.
I should put something out soon. And that's something, anybody that,
Yeah.
regardless
Yeah.
of what type of art or
I feel like any
anything, puts out faces.
Yeah, I feel like anyone who does like art on Instagram definitely feels that certain way. I used to feel like that, but like over the years, I'm just kind of like I don't really care. Like it's like whatever. I'm gonna put out a piece when I want to put out a piece.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I don't want to be a slave to the algorithm or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that. I don't really, yeah, I don't want that happening to me. I just want to make the most authentic art for myself. Honestly, my art is, yeah, it's like it's what I do for fun. You know what I mean? Like, and when you start catering to the algorithm, then like the fun gets taken out of it and stuff. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? So like, yeah, I try and always take my time. Never like force it for like stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. For sure.
So, I'm curious with, we talked about, some of how, like, you did the Spider Verse and kind of some of the processes behind some of your other pieces. But I'm curious, is there any, like, one piece that you did that was, really challenging, or, really, really
Ooh.
pushed you more than your average one?
I'd say, honestly, I'd say like I've recently done the series called the Head
Mm-hmm.
series, and it was basically me making like collages of uh rappers like head silhouette
Mm-hmm.
and like animating the images, like animate the album covers inside the head silhouette,
Mm-hmm.
and that was like pretty challenging to make it like work and like come together,
Mm-hmm.
and make it look like fluid. And that was definitely like one of the hardest collages like series I made because everything has to like be intertwined and look right. So like it has to look right. So like that was definitely one of them. But like the hardest challenging thing I've ever made was like a couple years ago. Like I was experimenting with like paper craft,
Mm-hmm.
and like I made these like 3D comic book
Oh,
covers.
okay.
I think it's still up on my page, but this is like 2021. I'm pretty sure. I made these like 3D comic book covers where I basically used like recycled like old comic
Uh-huh.
books and basically stacked them on top of each other to make them look like 3D and like make sure like it looks like the covers coming out
Uh-huh.
the page, whatever. And that was literally so tiresome because I had to like cut all the individual images with my X-Acto knife, and and you have to be precise because you don't want to make it look like janky,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So yeah, I think that was definitely the most. It was basically I was making a sculpture, so it was like the hardest thing I've ever done, and I definitely want to do that again. But like, yeah, it's just a bit time consuming, and like with how I use with After Effects too, I can actually achieve the similar type of effect, but it'll be all
Mm-hmm.
digital. So I'm kind of like figuring something out at the moment to try and make it into like in like a digital space,
Mm-hmm.
via After Effects for sure. Like After Effects, yeah, After Effects is initially it was hard for me too, but like I really just picked up like pretty consistently since last year. Just add that in.
So yeah, that was, I just pulled them up here on your page. Some of the, like, Batman comics and stuff that you did like that, and I
Yeah,
I
love
gotta
Batman.
say, I don't think I followed you at the time, but yeah, these are really cool.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, I can just imagine how long and kind of, like, painstakingly it took you
tedious.
to do
Yeah,
this. But it's super
yeah,
cool.
it's
I've been wanting
tedious.
to, and I kind of have been a little bit. I've haven't worked on it too much, but I've been wanting to do like collages where like I buy like comic books I find at like the thrift
Hmm.
store or like for really
Yeah.
cheap, and
Yeah.
just take out and
Hmm.
whether I use the same comic
Yeah.
or take several Batman comics and make some kind of collage.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of a stack, and like
Yeah.
I bought like a paper cutter and some stuff, but I haven't really made
Yeah.
anything yet. But that's something um, that I've kind of
Hmm.
always wanted to just do for fun. So it's cool to see how.
You should definitely do it, man.
Yeah, hopefully I plan to more this year. But it was like as soon as I
Hmm.
started to do it, I go like thrift shopping
Hmm.
weekly, and as soon as I started to be like, I should start looking out for comics. Not a single comic,
Yeah.
in, any type of comic. So,
Yeah.
but I've been trying
Yeah. That must be
to, yeah, I've
annoying.
been trying to find like other like video game books or like different things like a
Smaller.
Pokemon book,
Yeah.
that just has cool art or something in it. So
Yeah.
I've been trying to do that, and
Yeah.
hopefully I'll kind of start doing some more of that. But it's really cool
Yeah.
to see that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. That'll be cool
That
to
kind of
see,
like
man.
3D idea is
Yeah.
something I wouldn't even thought of, but it's cool to see how you were able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. That was such a painstaking idea. It was. I definitely want to get back to it one day. Like
Hmm.
actually make those like 3D sculptures, because I feel like the pictures on Instagram don't do it
Hmm.
justice. It looks so much better in real life. Like I can't stress that. Like it's
Hmm.
just like
Yeah.
something else in real life. And I don't know every time someone comes to my studio, like they see that on the
Hmm.
wall because I have it like hung up on my wall. They're like, "Yo, did you make that?" They're like, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah, I made that." And they're like, "Yo, that's sick. I want to have that for my room." And I'm like, "Shit, yeah, like I should definitely make more of them." Just yeah, it's just like if I make one, no joke, I have to spend like 10 hours a day like cutting up all those
Dang.
like pieces and like
Hmm.
stacking them together, stuff like that. And I know like some other similar artists that don't do comic book covers with that, but they do like similar thing where they have to like cut up and stack images together, make like this a 3D effect. And they usually take the time with the pieces, and maybe for that I should probably take my time, do it
Hmm.
when I like feel bored or something like that. Like that'll be probably easier for me rather than doing it like one go.
So yeah, doing that just like 10 hours a day, that does not sound that does not sound fun. So yeah, I think splitting
Yeah,
it up might make it a little more bearable.
yeah, sure. It's tedious, yeah.
Um, and I guess kind of next, I just wanted to talk about. I mean, you've already kind of mentioned some of the things you're doing, but do you have
Mhm.
any goals or big plans? Projects, collabs that you haven't talked about for this year that you kind of want to talk about?
Big collabs. Obviously, got the clothing stuff. Obviously coming out a few months, and I've also got some other like some stuff behind the scenes that I'm working on too, which I don't. It's not really finalized yet, but it should be. But it should be any day at this point. And
Hmm.
to be honest, I'm not going to say where it is because I don't know if it's going to actually come out yet. But like it should be, if it is finalized this week or so, it should be coming out in the next couple of weeks too, which would
Hmm.
be really awesome. So like, if you do follow me, you can stay out for my like stay on lookout on that.
Hmm.
And another like collab. Just want to collab with like more talented artists. I really fuck with. I feel like I've already done that. Like many of the other people you've had on there, like Aaron F Design. Like I've collabed
Hmm.
with him. Ricky Prosper, me and him done a
Hmm.
collab last year. I don't know who. I think you've had like some other artists maybe I've collabed with too. So like I definitely want to collab with like more artists and like definitely something like another brand. Like obviously there's this other thing I'm working on behind the scenes, which obviously I can't speak about. But yeah, just yeah, that's like the pinnacle thing that I'm just thinking about at the moment. The big collab that I have behind the scenes working on. You know that I can't really speak about.
Hmm. So sweet. Obviously, I'm excited to see what you got coming. Whether the thing that is soon or the clothing collab in a couple weeks.
Hmm.
Um, and then one question I like to ask people, and I know it can be kind of a tough one,
Hmm.
um, but we talked about where you see yourself in the next couple weeks, months, this year. But where do you see yourself, or where would you like to be, with your art, or maybe something completely different in the next like
Hmm.
5 years, 10 years, or even past that?
Honestly, that's obviously a big question. Honestly, like I wanna obviously expand my art and like, do stuff for like big companies, have my work presented on like billboards, like Times Square. I want to be like just doing work for like big companies and,
Hmm.
slowly getting there, chiseling away. I'm still pretty young, so like I've got a bunch of time. A lot of the artists that I know that obviously work with those big companies, they're like year 15, 20 in this, and they're working with those people. So like,
Uh-huh.
I'm like year two in this full-time position doing art. So like, yeah, like I definitely see myself there, like working with like these big companies, making you know collages. Maybe that he like animate collages too, or by that time I'll probably do something with like the 3D directing that I was telling you about, like 3D animation stuff
Hmm.
on After Effects. So yeah, I definitely see myself like, going into that. I think yeah, that space, just being like a like just being obviously how do I say it, like a bigger artist. I don't know if that's like the cliche or answer. I don't know. That's like the sensible one, I guess.
Yeah.
Don't know if that makes sense, but yeah,
Say nice. I mean, I'm, along for the ride, and I can't wait to see all the things that you accomplish this year and in the years to come. I wish the best for
appreciate
you.
you, appreciate
Um,
you, man.
I guess kind of to wrap it up, is there
Of
any,
course,
final advice or anything that you'd want to say to any aspiring artist or creative of any type?
of course. Of course, I have like a lot of like up and coming artists, hitting me up. They're like, "Oh, how do I grow my art page,
Mm-hmm.
and like, how do I get more likes?" And that question, I never really know how to answer it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just like, when I was creating, when I was first coming up, like I wasn't thinking about the likes or anything like that. But I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's like one of the main things where I feel like these new artists maybe that are coming up, they might be having, they might be focusing too much on that, and they shouldn't focus on the numbers too much. They should just really be, creating. And if a post doesn't do well, just keep creating. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
art is, obviously subjective. You know what I mean? And like your time will always come. I feel like I truly believe that. Like, if you feel like you want it bad enough, you will get it bad enough. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to work with the Sidemen, Mr.Beast, and also this other company, and just I had to put the work in, and I got it. It's just about keeping persistent and like being consistent, and building like good habits.
Mm-hmm.
Just taking the time, you know what I mean? Never rush, stairs over escalators. I feel like, I try and follow that motto, stairs over escalators. Just take your time, grow steadily rather than like, fast. Because, what comes up like really fast, I feel like comes really down fast as well. You know what I mean? I think that's where I really leave. I just focus on creating, don't focus on the numbers. Because I feel like a lot of people get lost in that nowadays. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I speak to a lot of my friends, and yeah, they definitely struggle with that, and I used to, but nowadays, just keep creating, man. Honestly, just keep create, keep putting the art up. Don't focus on that stuff. That's all I would say to the people that trying to do what I do, just or art in general. That putting out in general, yeah,
Mm-hmm. I mean, so yeah, I've never heard that before, but I really like the, take the stairs, not the escalator. I think that's
yeah,
a great way to look at it. And
mhm,
especially with like younger artists, like you said, there are young artists that are working with these huge brands and, like have, tens of thousands or 100,000 plus followers. So, you might see that as
yeah,
a small artist and be like, oh, why am
yeah,
I not there? But
mhm,
like you said, it's just important to keep
yeah,
creating and
like,
just put the time in and
yeah. Appreciate your own journey. That's
mm-hmm,
what I'd say. Appreciate your own journey. Like, don't try and compare yourself to others. I think there's one quote: "Comparison is a thief of joy," or something like that.
mm-hmm,
That was like a quote I heard. So yeah, like never compare yourself, just because everyone's moving at their own pace. Everyone's in different conditions. So yeah, like just move at your own pace. Keep
mm-hmm.
moving forward. That's all I say.
So yeah, like you said, I mean, if you want it and you really put in the effort and time,
Hmm.
it's just, I mean, basically a waiting game. Like, you never
Yeah.
know when a post can go viral and you know,
Yeah.
you'll have like
Yeah.
I had my first, I guess, really viral post back in May or late April of last year, and I went from
Yeah.
like 600, 700 followers to like over 3,000 just from one post.
Yeah.
And it was
That's
just
crazy.
a podcast clip, and I mean it's a good interesting
Yeah.
clip, and I put time into editing it, but it's not
Yeah.
crazy different than any of the other content I put out, but it
Hmm.
made me however many times X my follower account, and so there's
Yeah.
you never know, you could go from 1,000 followers one month to 25 the next.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
it's just
Yeah. Exactly. That's how I
yeah,
look
it's
at it.
just that time and consistency, and if you're putting in the work and with a little bit of luck too, you'll be good. So I think that's a
Yeah.
really important thing to talk about.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Like definitely, like you said, like you could literally blow up at any moment. Especially with like how these social
Hmm.
like platforms are. You can literally just blow up at any moment. So like, just take your time because you can literally
Hmm.
do blow up at any moment. That's all gotta say.
So
But yeah,
well, thank you for taking the time to come on. I really appreciate
of
it.
course, man.
For anybody that doesn't already follow you, all of your links to your social medias and your website and stuff will be down below. So
Of
make sure to
course.
go check that out. Um,
Yeah,
and I'd love to have
appreciate you, man.
you back on again in the future. I really appreciate the talk.
Of course. Yes. Yeah, definitely. You too, man. It was great talking to you. Nice to meet you.